What's up? Birthday boy right here. Who just won right now?
Hey, record me balling this little boy up.
Which one?
You.
No, heck no. I'll be balling this guy
Want
up.
to see why I lost? I'm not gonna say any names.
Eddie was killing it, dude. He was locking everybody down.
Because Eddie's shirt's too tight. I'm actually playing great defense.
We're about to win right now again. What's up, YouTube? Let's get into this video. You guys know me, I'm Sam, and I'm ready. So, what I'd like to talk about today is go over and read a little bit of one of my favorite books. All of these books are clearly after the Bible, the wisest book ever written, and even more than wisdom, it's just straight up the word. The only way to get to true knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. But this book has been really good to me. I've learned a lot from it, and it's really opened up my whole many perspectives on just understanding life and understanding the depth of life. And something that this book does is that it actually gets to the points that you want to understand of wisdom. And aside from the Bible, I haven't read any books that really get down to the points that I'm interested in learning, like this book. And I'll read other books and I'm waiting for the punchline. And I read and I read and I read, and these punchlines are all weak in every book. And they may not be weak, they may be very strong, but they're very temporary. And they'll hit me for like a second and I'll be like, okay, cool, let's go on to the next chapter, let's go on to the next let's just go on to continuing the book. There's many books I really love, but there's just those books that are like, wow, they really get you. So I'm gonna read a couple parts here. I think it's chapter 2, and I'm gonna break it down a little bit over how I feel like. Well, let's get into it and then we could explain. But what I'd like to talk about today is about using your time diligently and knowing how to manage it, and what time is the one that's going to really get us quality of life. So the balance of life. So let's get into it. So right here, 2.1. Why do we complain about nature? It is acted generously. Life, if you know how to use it, is long, but one person's held in the grip of voracious avarice, another by the kind of diligence that busies itself with pointless enterprise. This one's sodden with wine, another slack with idleness. This one's tired out by his political ambition, which always hangs on the judgment of others, while another's passionate desires for trading drives him headlong over every land and every sea in hope of profit. So it's talking about different people and their different ambitions in life. One of them is a politician, one's a drunk, and one is a very good, one of them is a businessman, one of them is lazy. Idleness is laziness. And another one is a trader, and who goes around the whole sea, because back in the day, this is written in I want to say 50 something AD. So back in the day, trade would work out with going in a boat and finding other places and finding their merchandise, and while you take your merchandise and you guys set up a good price to trade the product, and you come back to your place. But people are always trying to go and find the best trades. So nowadays that'll probably translate to just different jobs. We still have the same thing, just higher technology. So let's continue. It's talking about how all these people find different ways to waste time in life. That's pretty much what it gets down to. So continuing, a passion for soldiering torments some men, who are always either bent or on inflicting dangers on others, or worried about danger to themselves. So this is saying that some people are cautious about hurting other people, or just getting hurt themselves, that they don't want to live life because they're scared. That's pretty much what it's saying. Some are worn down by the voluntary enslavement of thankless attendance on the great. Many are kept busy starving after other people's wealth or complaining about their own. This is very prominent even today. People out there are always complaining about rich people and how life isn't fair because they're complaining because they don't have enough money, and what they do is just talk about other people's money or how they could take away money from the rich people. All they do is just complain about money pretty much. Many who have no consistent goal in life are thrown from one new design to another by a fickleness that is shifting, never settled, and ever dissatisfied with itself. Some have no goal at all toward which to steer their course, but death takes them by surprise as they gape and yawn. Wow, man, that's so powerful. This is saying, like, if you have no real goals in life, you're just gonna go around and be in the wind following all the new trends. You're gonna probably fall in love with for guys, I've seen many guys do this where they fall in love with the car, and there's nothing wrong with this, but don't let it be your whole life, finding superficial things just to follow. So what guys will do, they'll buy a car and they'll just make it their project car for life, making that their sole purpose in life. Instagram, their beauty, even guys doing this. It's kind of scary. And I'm gonna get to the girls right now, but yeah, we do different things, but the thing is this: the trends. You see a lot of guys following a lot of trends with their hairstyles, with the clothes that they get. You'll see their closets full of Jordans, Nikes, following nothing but trends. They'll be living to buy the next Louis Vuitton belt, looking to buy the next trend. These trends are always changing. The next hairstyle trend, the next car trend, and these things are very meaningless too, but what they're doing is they're feeding into the whole cycle of these trends that are coming out. The next thing that's going to be cool on social media and all that. And girls do it too. That's the sad thing. They just the new makeup trend, the new person to follow, the new music. And what they do is they live their whole life and this is because they have no consistent goal, or they have no goal at all, as we read right here. So, and I'll read it again, kind of. Let's see. Many are kept okay. Look at this, is crazy. It's so true. Many who have no consistent goal in life are thrown from one design to another by fickleness that is shifting, never settled, and ever dissatisfied with itself. So once it gets old to them, they'll go on to a new trend. And it's sad because the trends never end. So the next thing they do, and you see people, and this is the crazy thing, you'll see it on people that are like 60, 70 years old. They still have their tattoos, trying to dress like if they were like 18, 19-year-olds. And you see this a lot in California because this is very prominent in California because everybody wants to follow the trend because they don't have their own goals. So the lack of your own goals just makes you follow the mainstream trend, and that's very dangerous because you don't have your own mind. You just have the mind of what the mainstream is telling you, feeding you. And that's what we talked about, because the mainstream could be very, very dangerous. If we could see, and they're unreliable. It's always changing. Like it says right here. Look at this. That is shifting, never settled, and ever dissatisfying with itself. So it's pretty much saying that it gets nasty. Like when you hear music, you hear it so much, it'll play out and you want to hear the next new song. And it's sad because you're never satisfied with yourself. Some have no goal at all toward which to steer their course, but death takes them by surprise. In the end, let me see, death takes them by the surprise as they gape and yawn. So while you're yawning and you're just watching the next show, death takes you by surprise. Next thing you know, you're 70 years old, you're 60, you're 50. Maybe you don't even get to that age, but you're old and you're gray and you're like, man, I never did anything because I never even had any goals to begin with. And then what? It hits you, the regret, the feeling of not completing any goals, not doing anything. You see the people around you doing things, and what do? You look at them, and like it says earlier, You complain about their money. You look at their money and you're like, why are they so rich? Well, they had goals and they executed them. And then they found other things, because it talks about there is a problem that rich people have too. Political ambitions. It talks earlier, the trader, they're so busy trying to gather money that they didn't get to the balance of life to be able to enjoy the money. So, man, there's so much more to go over, but we're going to stick with that. Man, there's so much to go over. But, and right here is so powerful right here. I'm going to skip a little bit, and it goes, all the rest of existence is not living, but merely time. Wow, man. It's just existence. And I'll repeat it one more time. All the rest of existence is not living, but merely time. So you might get gray hairs, you might get 100 to 100 years old, but what happens is that it doesn't count. You might have the 100 years, but what do you have to show for it? What are the times that you had with your family? What are the times that you had to yourself? What are the times that you had to really complete a project that you really wanted to complete and influence people, to show wisdom, to share wisdom, to show knowledge and give knowledge? What did you do with that? You lived your whole life living for others to satisfy their needs, but what did you actually do to fulfill your family's needs, your own needs, to contribute your own way rather than to be a product of the system, to be the voice of Fox, the voice of FedEx. My family works at FedEx, but I love that my family, not just because they work at FedEx, they have their own voice as well. That my dad influences me, as my dad talks about. The politician, though he's making a lot of money, that's all they know him for. He's a politician right here. The trader, he's waiting to get that bank, that profit, instead of he's living his whole life for that. And life needs to be a balance where you're influencing people not only in the marketplace, but in the house, in the community, to go out and be your own person, not be a slave to the market. And then it says not to be too lazy either, not to be giving into your vices. And yeah, so with that being said, we're going to continue on. I really love this book. This whole book is like that too. It really gets down to the core issues that life has. And I could go on reading about this book so much, talking about how wealth is a burden. Look it, they are choked by their own goods. How many have found their wealth a burden? How many have drained their blood and their eloquence and their daily preoccupation with showing off their abilities? Wow, look at this. How many people, or how many are sickly pale from their incessant pleasures? Wow, man, that's just powerful. So we're going to go on with this book, reading a little bit of different parts of it, but yeah, we got to be diligent with our time, and we really got to be able to say that we have our own time, rather than to just say, I'm this employee, my employee ID, this is who I am, this is what I'm known for and all that. We got to have our own lives, and we got to really own it, instead of being a product saying, oh, I'm just this Instagram face, I'm just this Facebook face, I'm just this. No, you got to be yourself, and you got to really influence and love with it. So with that being said, like and subscribe. God bless. See you guys next week. Take care. Peace out.